Sonic the Hedgehog, or more commonly known as Sonic 06 among the Sonic community, was without a doubt the most controversial Sonic game ever created, and is quite possibly one of the most controversial games ever made. During the development process, it was billed as being the rebirth of the franchise, and the trailer for the game got a lot of people really hyped up for it. However, when it was released back in Christmas of 2006, it was met with universally negative reception, and was widely panned as being the worst Sonic game ever created. What happened? Where did things go wrong? And who's to blame for this game's failure? To answer these questions, we're going to have to go back to the very beginning. The year was 2005, and Sonic fans were feeling pretty let down after the rather abysmal Shadow the Hedgehog. Recognizing this, Sega realized that Sonic had strayed rather far from his original formula, and felt that he needed to go back to the basics. At E3 2005, Sega showcased a video behind closed doors, showing what they hoped to accomplish with the next installment. With an idea solidified and an eager fanbase ready for another game, Sega started work on the next Sonic game, hoping to relaunch the brand for a new generation of consoles. The first glimpse of the new Sonic game came sooner than most people thought. In September of 2005, at the Tokyo Game Show, Sega showcased the work they had already done on the game. The stage itself is clearly the area that would later become Kingdom Valley, and a lot of elements from the final version you can still see here. Take a look at the homing attack animation. It hardly changed from this early build all the way until the final build. However, given that this is a very early build, there are plenty of major differences here as well. Not only is grinding much faster, but there's a cool effect where the camera pulls back to make Sonic seem to go even faster than he actually is. Another interesting tidbit is that this game was originally supposed to have a day-night system, where it would transition depending on the amount of time spent in the stage. However, this was scrapped in later builds for unknown reasons. All of this made the game look very promising, but it wasn't until much later that we would get another look at the progress Sega had made. During the next few months, Sonic Team continued to make steady progress on the game, fleshing out more and more ideas to put in it. However, it came as a big blow to the project when Yuji Naka, who had been with the series since the very beginning, decided to leave Sega and start his own company. This put more pressure on the rest of the team, as they no longer had an idea of what to do with the game they were currently working on. As a result, the game was expanded from being a simple, back-to-the-basics game into a large game with epic scope. At E3 2006, Sega finally showcased what the game had become, with a brand new trailer along with a playable demo on the showroom floor. Also, an official name was announced, Sonic the Hedgehog, to emphasize that this game would be the rebirth of the franchise. At this point, the game was quite far into development, as you can see by the gameplay footage shown here. However, there are still some differences, especially in the physics of the game. If you look at Sonic's homing attack, it is much more spammable, as well as having multiple flip moves that aren't in the final. Also, the aesthetics of Kingdom Valley are different as well, with the sky being clear, as opposed to overcast in the final build. And look, Sonic actually had a pillar-to-pillar animation in the Mach Speed section. In addition, Silver was shown as a playable character, although in this build he, along with Sonic, is much faster than in the final. The trailer showed off two new stages, Crisis City and Tropical Jungle, as well as the town hub. At this point, people got really excited for the game, and it looked very promising indeed for Sega. The next glimpse we got of the game was at the 2006 Tokyo Game Show. We only got a trailer, which combined footage from the E3 trailer along with new footage, but you can easily see from the new footage that the game was very close to the final build at this point in time. From this shot here, it appears that the multiple flips from the E3 build's homing attack are gone. In addition, it is likely that the homing attack is no longer spammable, and that it functions more like it does in the final. Also, it seems that Sonic's speed is now significantly decreased, and is now at about the same speed as in the final build. On the aesthetic level, Kingdom Valley is now overcast, and Sonic's fur is a tad lighter than in the E3 build. However, in about a week's time, we got a new surprise, an Xbox Live demo. It appears to be exactly the same build as the one used for the Tokyo Game Show footage, but there are still a host of differences from the final build. The most noticeable one is that the homing attack actually curves down, instead of going straight out like in the final. This means that the homing attack in the demo can be used to actually improve momentum, instead of slowing Sonic down like the homing attack in the final. Also, when Sonic gets hit, the rings spread around him more realistically, instead of popping out of nowhere like in the final. And, most importantly, the action gauge actually functions properly in the demo, although nothing happens when it is full. Despite these differences, this demo is actually quite similar to the final build. The only problem was, the team working on the game was scrambling to finish and fine-tune the game, as they only had one more month before it was time to ship it. The product was supposed to be ready for the Christmas rush, and to delay it beyond that would result in worse sales, as well as missing Sonic's 15th anniversary. According to speculation, the team was forced to ship an earlier, more stable build of the game, with many effects and features missing from the game. This would make sense, as the demo feels more complete than the so-called final product. As a result, the reviewers and critics felt that the game was very unpolished, and so what was once the rebirth of the franchise became the biggest bomb of the franchise, sinking Sonic to an all-new low. So, there you have it. Now, only one question remains. Whose fault is it that the game turned out this way? In an interview with the Sonic Team producer, Yojiro Ogawa, the producer had this to say regarding the development of Sonic 06. The reason why we probably ended up with what we see today involves a lot of reasons. One is that we did want to launch the title around Christmas, and we had the PS3 launch coming up, but we had to develop for Microsoft's 360 at the same time, and the team had an awful lot of pressure on them. It was very hard for the team to try and see how we were going to come out with both versions together with just one team. It was a big challenge. Note that Ogawa said we want to launch the title around Christmas, referring to Sega pressuring the team for a Christmas launch. On top of this, Sega clearly put extremely high expectations on this product with all the hype, so when it finally released, the expectations were not up to par, thus causing the game's demise. Now, there has been a rumor floating around the internet saying that Microsoft and Sony rushed Sega, and that they wouldn't let them create any more games for their consoles unless Sonic 06 got done on time. The only problem is, I couldn't find any support for this claim at all, so unless someone else gives me a reasonable citation to back up this claim, I shall declare Sony and Microsoft not guilty. As previously mentioned, Yuji Naka left Sega during this game's development, leaving the project without a direction. According to an interview, he left the company because he felt that he was no longer getting to be as involved in the games he created as he used to. However, there is no denying that the project definitely took on a different approach once he left, as it became more of a grand epic game, as opposed to going back to the basics like Naka originally wanted. While this game remains to be extremely controversial to this day, one thing may be said about it. Whether you love or hate this game, the missed opportunities and unfinished nature of the game show that this could have been so much more. Sega needed this lesson, and thankfully things are looking up for Sonic. However, I don't think it could have been possible without the massive bomb that was Sonic 06.